the last lecture, you have heard about the different types that are present in ecosystems. We have talked about atmosphere, lithosphere, hydrosphere. Now we proceed to look and understand what are renewable and non-renewable sources. The non-renewable sources are oil and minerals. Once they are used up, they are consumed and they cannot be further used. Similarly, in the case of minerals, you convert them into some gadgets and they cannot be brought back to the initial conditions. The renewable resources now are very many and we start one by one. The first renewable resource is forest. Since the beginning of this earth or the formation of this earth, just as sea was formed, similarly forests were formed. Because of excessive rain and some seeds that must have accumulated, forests grew up in different regions. These forests were very thick in the beginning. We know Amazon river. This particular river is surrounded by a very thick forest. At some places it is so thick that even the sun rays do not penetrate inside. That means it is dark throughout all 24 hours, throughout the year. The forest played a very important part in man's life. The ancient people were understanding the significance of forest. They understood the significance of fire because at some time forests actually grew of fire and fire started in the forest when actually trees collided together. So man has understood the significance of fire and its formation through the forest. Then in forest there are so many animals, and one of the important animals were ferocious like tigers and lions. These were definitely attracting normal human beings. So in various types of sculptures in the temples and in the holy places, we have got sculptures and drawings and paintings of these animals and lions and deers and elephants. These were actually present in this forest. The forests were slowly moved, or people started living close by to the forest, cultivating the land, using seeds available from the forest trees. The forest formation is due to the fact that you have got roots that in the form of seeds. You have got moisture in the form of rain, and you have got sunlight which is supplying energy for the phenomena of photosynthesis. So the forest grew in different types in different lands. The forest has got one additional advantage. It protects the region from a very powerful wind. When the wind comes very powerfully, it obstructs it with the result that havoc is not created in the locality nearby. The forest cools the grass. And a cool grass, that means a grass which is directly exposed to sunlight, and a grass which is not exposed to sunlight directly, the cool grass is definitely a better food for the animals. So the animals can chew and eat it with a greater taste. The second point of forest is that forest they have got various plants. These particular plants are shelter houses for various types of birds and animals. As you know, deer and monkeys move around the trees, and here you got a picture whereby you can see a tree. It has got three different parts. One is roots, other is bark, and third are branches. The branches are very big and very heavy, and they are green in color, especially during rainy season. The branches are useful because animals can play or move around in the branches, and monkeys actually travel. As we have seen monkeys, squirrels or honeybees moving in the branches. Monkeys have a grip on the branches, with the result that they can flow from one branch to the other one. The bark actually is responsible for a great many things, but it is especially responsible for worms, which actually settle in the bark and protect the tree in that sense. The bark has got a skin actually. The skin gets thick, and during the dry season the skin falls down and new skin is formed. Then the roots are very important. As the tree gets old, the roots go inside, or they actually withhold or can stop the erosion of soil. If you just take the soil and the wind is flowing very fast, then the soil moves very fast like a dust particle. When you have roots, actually to these roots soil is attached. This soil actually takes moisture, with the result that the soil is a moist soil. That is why it cannot flow directly. It sticks to the roots, and the roots actually are therefore cause for bacteria or for things like earthworms and microbes. Therefore the soil is protected, the soil doesn't move fast, and there is no erosion of soil. The forest therefore is of great essence to us. It was therefore a practice amongst ancient people to go in the forest, known as Vanaprasthashram. During the Vanaprasthashram they used to live in forest in the old age, just to live a quiet life. And we know that Sri Ram was sent by his father, or Pandavas were sent to Vanavas, and they settled there and lived there for a long time. In foreign universities, forest is very important part for students as well as teachers. So every big university has a forest very close to it. This particular forest is habitable forest. It is well maintained, and people take pleasure in moving around it. There is a story that a renowned Nobel laureate, Professor Schrödinger, who wrote a very famous equation, Schrödinger wave equation, worked for all the 3 days. And during these 3 days he was working non-stop without taking any break. He has written his autobiography, and it says that after 3 days, when he solved the equation, he was so happy, so contented, so satisfied, that after finishing the final equation, he sat for some time in meditation and then went to the forest. That was midnight, and in the midnight he was not tired after 3 days long work, but he got complete pleasure, happiness by moving in the forest. They say the forest speaks with the human beings, the forest makes noise, and most important, the forest spares you from a hot wind that is flowing to human society, which is close by. Forest is therefore of a great use. We have got rainforest, deciduous forest, forest for teakwood, pinewood, sandalwood. And sandalwood is very costly, as all of you know very well. It costs 3 lakh rupees per ton of sandalwood. But that is why sandalwoods are mainly robbed of the forest. The forests are a property of government, and that is why it comes under conservator of forest range. A specific area of forest therefore is sold, and a contractor is given that particular area for cutting it, or what is called as the deforestation. What the people do is that they exhibit dishonesty in all these affairs. They cut a large amount of forest than actually allotted to them, with the result that trees do not go very fast and the forest start decaying, or the intensity of the forest decreases. One additional point is there, those actually poor people who live close by to the forest, they do not have any facility for the gas or the burning gas. So for cooking purposes or for heating purposes, they use this timber from the forest. They take timber from the forest by entering in the forest and by cutting the trees. So cutting the trees is a great menace in our country, and it has to be stopped, it has to be legalized. But legalization of this is very difficult. The trees actually, once it is settled actually, or you put in the form of a seed, to take a complete form in the form of a full tree, it almost takes 10 to 12 years. But this 10 to 12 years old tree can be cut off completely within a span of one day. So one has to understand very well that construction is very difficult, destruction is very easy. Therefore this forest has to be protected, and the protection of the soil is, you must keep a number of the trees which you have cut and a number of trees you have implanted. In Karnataka actually, they sell this forest and they say almost 1,60,000 trees are cut every year. But only 1,30,000 trees are grow, or seeds are grown in it. This means there is a deficiency of 30,000 trees every year, with the result that forest decays or the intensity of forest is reduced. The forest keeps all the surface green. It is full of moisture, and they say that whenever there is a forest, there is more rainfall, because forest gathers moisture. This moisture is responsible for attacking the clouds or attracting the clouds. The clouds therefore blow and flow just to wet the plants. That is why the arid zones or the zones which are desert have got a less amount of water or less amount of rain. Forest is therefore a great boon to us. Ancient people understood the significance of forest. We understood the significance of trees. That is why we always say Vrikshavalli Ama Sage Soye Vanachari, means all these trees which are very close to us or in the form of forest, are they are like our relatives. So ours is a very big ecosystem. We and a forest, we and a tree must live together, must live in harmony, or what is called in English language, or a very fine word, we must be in symbiosis or cooperative work. To grow in the forest, the second point that we require, or the second material that we require, is water. As we have seen in the third lecture, water is available, abundant in the form of seas, and useful water is less. That is why water is to be used very carefully. A human being generally requires 40 liters of water per day. If you consider a normal bucket which is 6 to 7 or even 8 liters of water, the minimum requirement for a human being for bathing, cleaning and for other purposes is 40 liters, almost 5 buckets. In India, almost 40% of the people or 40% of the cities are absolutely dry, or they have got insufficient water. Water scarcity is so much in India that it is better to dwell more on this particular aspect. The scarcity of water is because of one particular fact, that there are so many regions in this country where the rainfall is very short. The meaning of the short rainfall means either it doesn't come at a proper time in the month of June, or whenever it comes in the month of August or July, it is always very short, with the result that seeds cannot grow up and a crop failure is observed. The crop failure results in the poverty for the villagers and the farmers. Water is therefore extremely essential for our survival, and every person now, if he is getting water less than 5 buckets, then he cannot clean himself or he cannot clean his house. One more point is there. We have made our house westernized. Our habits are westernized in the sense that we are using now western toilets. These toilets require large amount of water for the cleaning or flushing. If every flush is taking 5 ml, 5 liters of water, then actually the water will be completely insufficient for flushing. That is why in Saudi Arabia or some other countries, 2 types of water are provided. One is drinking water, other type of water is used for bathing purposes and for cleaning purposes. So we will have to make a provision for that. But unfortunately, we in India do not have sufficient amount of water. The paucity of water has been responsible for the water levels in the soil has gone down tremendously. That is called water tables. Previously, when you bore actually water, this particular bore water will be available in 10 to 15 feet deep. But now people have to go 40 feet deep or even 50 feet deep till they do not get water, and whatever the water they get is a muddy water. There is no sufficient rain, with the result that rivers are not flowing at a proper depth. Because the rivers are not flowing, we have constructed canals around the river. These canals are not flowing. And because canals are not flowing, water is not available for the crops. And because the crops cannot grow, food is not sufficient, and therefore we are food hungry also. So water is called, in language of Sanskrit, as Jivan. Water is life, and life is water. So without water, life cannot sustain. And a healthy growth of life is only possible with water. In the northern part of this earth, like North America and Britain, where water is abundant, this particular problem doesn't arise. So the problem of water that we are facing are very specific and specific to India. So Indians as such must consider this problem more seriously than so many other countries in the northern region of earth. The water actually that flows through the rivers gets polluted because so many industries are built around the river. This building up of industries around the river is because for them water is required and they want abundant water at a low cost. So they use the river water, but throw polluted water in the river. That is why so many rivers, especially river in Nepal and rivers in our region also, have got contaminated or polluted because of water. During the time of Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, ex-Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, he had a scheme, what is called Clean Ganges scheme, means purify Ganges. The river Ganges, which is the most holy river for all of us, have become very unclean, dirty and polluted because of the industrial waste. One more point regarding these rivers and the flow of rivers in water. Some others in our country has developed a very peculiar habit of using water for very bad reasons. If we bathe in water, and when we bathe in water, automatically, when the population of India was very small and very few people used to bathe water, in a very big river like Ganges or Narmada or Godavari, there would not be any pollution from the human skin and human body, because the number of human beings doing this particular job was very less. But during the Melas, when almost 10 lakh people take bath in one day in water, automatically this particular water gets completely contaminated by the smell, and if some person is having disease, by the disease and bacteria. This creates a danger because of the fact that there is a tremendous amount of people that are using it. One more habit actually which is definitely bad, but which is the outcome of poverty among people. As all of us know, there are ghats in Ayodhya or Banaras on Ganges where unburned corpses are thrown in the water. The poor people cannot purchase timber. This particular timber being unavailable, they cannot burn the bodies completely. So they just touch the body with a fire, and these unburned bodies are then thrown in Ganges. This practice is common and rampant in northern India, with the result that a person who is suffering from a particular disease, this particular person's body or a dead body is being thrown in Ganges. Somehow it has to be stopped, but it is still continuing because the people who are extremely poor cannot afford to do the otherwise. Forest is also very important because we get timber from the forest. Timber actually is a dry wood, and you have got Siamese timber or a teak wood, which has a good strength or a good strength material and which can sustain for a long time. Nowadays there is a fashion amongst us that in our houses we have got lot of furniture with timber, with the result that timber has become very expensive, and with the result that there is a lot of cutting of forest. This particular forest cutting therefore has resulted in the deforestation, and deforestation has resulted in the paucity of rain. So it is a very big cycle that is called a rain cycle or a water cycle. And in this particular water phenomena, during 1950s, it was suggested that water must be stored. Storage of water can be done at two levels, in ponds or dams or a big dams. And a very big dam, Bakranangal, was constructed around 1960. This particular Bakranangal has a huge capacity to occupy water, and this water will be available to all the region of Punjab and Haryana, with the result that water will be abundant in that particular region. With that intention, the dam was constructed, and then it is circulated to various villages and cities in the province. This helps in the growth of crops. That is why we hear that Punjab is now very rich in rice. But there is a problem with the big dams. First, there is a leakage of water. Secondly, when you start constructing a dam, the rocks have to be cut, the forest has to be deforested, and the people who are living nearby or nearby region are to be evacuated. All these evacuated people should get shelter or a place to live in. Since the laborers actually are responsible for constructing the dam, they start living close with the dam. They have to be rehabilitated. This rehabilitation is a great problem which has created a rift among the people who are suffering and the people who are constructing the dam. When the height of Sardar Sarovar was to be grown up or enhanced, social workers like Mela Patkar and Baba Amte emphasize that all the people who are suffering from this must be rehabilitated properly. So rehabilitation is a great problem with the dams. When Hirakud Dam was built in Orissa, there was a lot of opposition for this particular dam, under the same pretext which already I had mentioned. But when the dam is finalized and came into action from 1950, the water available now is abundant in Orissa, with the result that whole province of Orissa has been self-sufficient in rice. In a nutshell, whenever we do this, any type of work like this, every one of us must feel that we are doing national job. And if a nation is to be great, then every citizen of this particular nation must be completely satisfied. The poor man must get his share, and unless and until he gets his share, he is not going to get satisfaction. And unless and until these poor people are satisfied, the dam and the reservoir cannot prosper and cannot be maintained peacefully. One more scheme was suggested for the preservation of water, and this particularly is the dip irrigation system. The dip irrigation system involves to flow water through the roots by flowing water along the pipes, or there is a fountain of water falling on the plants. The system has to be worked. Water level actually has to be maintained. So a new thing or a mediocre, actually you can say middle way has been found out. And that middle way is that we should have not only the small ponds or big dams, but we should have a compromise, a middle class dam. A middle class dam will not bring more expenditure, will not require rehabilitation of so many people. And one more point is there, that when you construct a very big dam, it takes a long time. To construct a dam like Jayakwadi or Bhakranangal, you require almost 8 to 10 years. So during 8 to 10 years, all these people have to be kept as laborers. What we should do is that we should have simple projects which can be over into 1 or 2 years, and that will be useful. Water problem has become so acute in our country that there are struggles or wrangles between neighbors first, between two societies which are in the neighborhood, between two localities which are in the neighborhood, between two villages which are in the neighborhood, or between two cities in the neighborhood. That means the conflict is confined to individual, to a big society. Take a very recent example. Jayakwadi project is a very huge affair, but the water level in Jayakwadi now is only 33%. This is happening in the month of December. And the water level will go down fast because of the scorching heat in summer. So if the government wanted that water should be brought from other dams. There was a lot of hue and cry by the people who were very close to the other dams because they never wanted to lose their water. It means that we are having a conflict with district or a region and another region. This conflict takes violence or brings violence with the result that we create bitterness and animosity amongst people who belong to the same nation. That is, water is therefore responsible, or paucity of water is therefore responsible for people who were living harmoniously for years together to fight amongst each other. I am saying this emphatically because even the neighbors are fighting with each other on the basis of water. On common tap waters, there is a continuous fighting to fill the bucket. This bucket which I have set, a normal resident may get 5 buckets per day, but a laborer or a Adivasi or a person who is a hunter, who is a nomad, who is a cane sugar worker and whose existence is not stable, he has no permanent home, he may not get even 5 buckets of water per day. So what about his bath? What about his toilet? All things he cannot do, thus he cannot live the life of a normal human being. This difficulty, therefore, is due to the paucity of water and can be solved by individual or for all of us by using minimum quantity of water. So the first thing is that water should not be wasted. The wastage of water by the individual, the wastage of water by the house, and the wastage of water by the society has to be taken into account. It means that we should not throw water unnecessarily, take maximum precaution of water, and as somebody has said, even do not give full glass of water to your friend or to your guest because he may drink half and throw half. This much precaution one has to take. So water is therefore a great problem to be solved by all of us. We must sit together and solve this problem, otherwise not only ours but our sons and grandsons' life will be extremely difficult. The population of this country is doubling every 10 years or 15 years. So in 2025, we will be beating China in population. This particular population, if it increases very fast, then water problem will be much more serious because the resource of water is limited and population is increasing fast. What you have to do therefore, to see that rain is abundant, to see rain is abundant, we have to bring more forest. So each is linked with the other one. Forest, rain and famine or general lifestyle of an individual in a society. With this we go to the next point in our talk, what is called energy. Energy is the capacity to do work. Every person has got an energy. A living person has got energy because he or she or it eats food. This food is digested in the stomach, and then digested food actually is used in the formation of fine blood cells. So all these things are going out continuously in human body. That is why a man can walk, can speak and run, because he possesses energy. All the energy that we get is coming from the sun, that is called solar energy. The solar energy is abundantly available, but it cannot be transformed into other forms of energy so easily. We got electrical energy, and electrical energy has completely revolutionized our lifestyle. 100 years before, when there were no lights, there used to be darkness throughout the night. Now people can walk and move very freely in the night because of the powerful light that is called electrical energy we have got. Solar energy has to be converted into electrical energy, which a layman can think even, and he can always argue that solar energy is abundant with us. One very fortunate thing with our country is that we have got abundant sun for all the 12 months of year. We are very lucky and fortunate in that. So is it possible for us to convert the solar energy into electrical energy? To convert anything or any form of energy into another form, we require a machine. And there is a scientific branch in chemistry known as thermodynamics. The thermodynamic tells us very fundamental principles. And these fundamental principles are applicable to all nature, that means all universe. It states that, which is the first law in thermodynamics, states that energy cannot be created or destroyed in this universe. Energy changes its forms only. Electrical energy can be transferred into heat energy by simple gadget, like electrical ironing. Mechanical energy can be transferred. Energy coming from waterfall actually can be used to move turbines. That means the waterfall energy is potential energy. Turbine movement is mechanical energy. The turbines can be used for electrical flow, that is the gaining of electrical energy, and electrical energy can get light. So all this energy is converted from one form to the other. But the second law of thermodynamics tells a very important point, that whatever machine you may prepare, complete conversion of one form into other is impossible. Impossible means, if you want to convert heat into energy or other form of energy, you have to use a machine. Heat will have to be taken from some source. The machine will do work on it and return the heat to the sink. More the heat that you take, more is the radiation or a continuous flow of heat from the body or a gadget by natural law. So complete conversion of heat into work is impossible. This impossibility is the law of nature. You cannot prevent it. And since it is a law of nature, one form of energy cannot be converted into other. Unfortunate part of solar energy is that even solar energy cannot be converted 30% or 20% into electrical energy. Maximum it can be converted is less than 1%. We have started working on it by building the photovoltaic cells. But the photovoltaic cell requires so much amount of chemical energy that the conversion of solar energy into heat was already a task very expensive. We have got solar water heaters, and so many people have fixed solar water heaters on their homes. They are fixed on the terrace. The water gets, that is the box gets heat through the sun, and it is deposited and it is preserved in water. So whenever you open a tap, you get hot water automatically. In our houses we burn wood or take help of a gas to heat water for bathing purposes. The people with solar cooker doesn't require that particular labor. They get it automatically. But again, here is also a problem that solar water heater is useful only when sun is very powerful. During rainy season, almost for 4 months, when the clouds are present in the sky and the light coming from the sun is not abundant, solar cooker cannot be used or solar heater cannot be used. The only useful form which I can suggest and which everybody must start using it is solar cooker. Solar cooker is just a simple box. In that particular box you have to keep the utensils and a container like rice and cereal with water and keep it exposed to the sun by closing the lid. If you keep it directly exposed to the sun in the morning at about 9 o'clock, when the sun is quite bright, when by 10 o'clock you will definitely get your complete food cooked. You are not wasting gas, you are not wasting timber, you are not doing anything which is a wastage. You are getting energy which is free, and the food cooked is definitely of a very good quality because it is not contaminated. So what we do is, or every person who is hearing this, or every student who is listening it, should make it compulsory in his house or home. And one more very important point which I can just say laughing is that this job can be done by men. Most of our kitchen is managed by women. They take a lot of pains to cook food, but this can be done by men by just take the solar cooker, go to the terrace and keep your utensils, and then don't worry at all. After 2 hours, you can go and take your food. Then you have got solar batteries for running cars. Solar batteries are utilized in auto rickshaws also. Now all these things are using chemical energies. And chemical energy means you require acids and other material which is not very cheap. So considering the expensive nature, whether these particular sources or these particular gadgets will be popular among the common masses is the question to be thought of. The solar energy therefore is a great use. What I would suggest is, in India being a very fortunate country, let us concentrate our research, because we have got so many intellectual brains. India has got so many intellectual young people. The country should assign certain job to them, and that job is a very specific job. The job is to prepare a gadget, to prepare a machine which can enhance the percentage of solar energy conversion either into heat or electrical energy. What I am saying may be a thing for laugh, because everybody says there is no use. Nuclear energy was never thought of. Nanotechnology was never thought of. But it came into existence because of some intellectual pursuit. This intellectual pursuit gives us or shows us another path. The path is entirely different, but that path is very much useful. Similarly, our intellectual brains must be utilized or must be diverted, and the government should tell them that within a specific period, let us say of 2 to 3 years, you have to devise mechanism by which solar energy can be converted into either heat or electrical energy. One thing you must remember, and all the people must remember, that resources from the earth, from the nature are limited. But brain research or brain resource is unlimited. The people who are intellectuals, their brains are so sharp that they can imagine these things and implement them. This particular implementation, if it's done by any young person in India, that will be great too. In this connection, I have thought over something. Most of the European countries are not interested in this. European countries are not interested in this because for them sun is not plenty. What I mean in short is that we must completely utilize our asset. And utilization of this asset is utilization of solar energy into its useful form by raising the standard of conversion factor. After this particular solar energy, we go to the next type of energy, what is called nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is often built in nuclear reactors. These nuclear reactors require uranium-235 isotope. Uranium-235 is to be exported, and the exported country definitely demand a very high price because uranium-235 only is fissionable. The meaning of the word fissionable means it automatically liberates neutrons, and one neutron can break uranium-235 nucleus into two and simultaneously produce two neutrons. This reaction is called a chain reaction. The atom bomb was produced by this particular reaction, but in this particular case, the chain reaction was not a controlled reaction. If you have an uncontrolled reaction, because in this particular process, two neutrons are produced, two small atoms are produced, and a huge amount of energy is produced. This particular production of huge energy was used for the production of atom bomb. This is called uncontrolled reaction. But if you control this reaction, then neutrons can be used for heating purposes. So nuclear energy is another alternative, but it has got some disadvantages or drawbacks, you can say it. The neutrons are hazardous to human body. All of us know what are the havoc radioactivity has played after the explosion of atomic bomb in Japan in Hiroshima. That means when neutrons, beta particles hit the soil could not be used for vegetation for another 5 years. When it hit the human cells were affected, they got damaged and resulted in cancerous cells. So all the damage that neutrons are doing when they are not controlled has to be taken into account. So we have got very big steel walls which completely control the flow of neutrons. But some people say that nuclear reactors are not very safe. And we have got accident in Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island in USA, where there was a leakage of nuclear activity from the nuclear reactor. and this has created a tremendous havoc which could not be measured or which can be completely cured in another 5 to 10 years. Furthermore, to control the nuclear reactor, we require expertise. And the expertise has to be provided by the people from the atomic energy. This expertise, if it is provided, then in India actually has got several nuclear reactors. France has got very big number of nuclear reactors. But one great advantage of nuclear reactor is that it provides us a facility for the production of atomic bombs. Because nuclear reactor cannot, atomic bombs as such is uncontrollable reaction, and nuclear reactor gives controllable reaction. If our country's defense is very powerful, the country is very powerful. If the country is very powerful, then automatically we are free from any aggression. If you are not worried about any aggression, then every citizen can live peacefully. And when every citizen lives peacefully without any fear of aggression from the enemies, then automatically the country grows fast. This particular thing that we see in day-to-day life has to be understood. There are different type of views, exactly opposite. Some people are not in favor of building or constructing nuclear reactors. Scientists are in favor of nuclear reactors because they see a tremendous use of nuclear reactors, and especially in the safety of our nation. On this particular, lot of discussion is going on. What we want to understand is, we must have got very devoted people as technicians who will do the jobs very seriously and keep the nuclear reactor intact and 100% efficient without any leakage. If such a thing occurs, then we have got a great source of energy, and this great source of energy therefore will primarily fulfill our need of energy. Then we have got energy from biomass, like cow dung, we can have energy. Vegetable garbage, we can have energy. This energy also can be produced. Solar energy is called a clean energy. These energies are not called clean energies, but they are very cheap energies in the sense that you are getting a material which is cheap and discarded material. So all this energy, if is available to us, we make our life comfortable and safe. So energy plays a very important role in our life. And if you have got a very important role in life, then automatically we must be after energy and see that we get energy from different sources. Now energy of a human body is also very important, because this particular energy only will make human being working and thinking, and every citizen being active and free from diseases is very important for the prosperity of the nation. This is possible if he has got sufficient energy, and this energy is given by fruits and good food. So again it is the same cycle that is going on. The cycle is food, energy, human body, every cell. And here you have to understand that in human body every cell works in a very ordered fashion. There is no disorder in the body. I already told you in the laws of thermodynamics that complete conversion of heat into work is impossible. But our cell is a machine, a very tiny machine. We have got 4.2 trillion cells in our body. The machine actually takes food, converts into drug, takes medicine, and works very efficiently. This is called a ideal machine which has got efficiency equal to 1. The human body is so, nature has made it so peculiar and so characteristic that when you take food, it goes to your stomach. Stomach does work. Whenever work is done outside, heat is produced. No heat is produced in our body in the sense we do not get any heat when we eat. It means that the processes occurring along the cell are very microscopic, very tiny, and in the language of thermodynamics are utterly reversible. Your human body is, you can say, part of jugglery. It simultaneously produces proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, so many enzymes in the body working sufficiently well with complete efficiency for years together in the human body. Each cell recognizes the presence of other cell and stops growing when the other cell is growing, which is rarely seen in the human beings. This is done by the cell wall, or what is called biological membranes. The cell wall, if it goes defective, then it cannot recognize the neighbor. And if it cannot recognize the neighbor, then there is a fusion of two cells. And this is the beginning of cancer. Two cells merging together and fusing together, damaging themselves, working inefficiently, is the cause of the failure of efficient working of human body. Why the cancer cannot be detected is because we have got 4.2 trillion cells, million 10 raised to the power 6, billion 10 raised to the power 9, trillion 10 raised to the power 12. So many cells are there. If one cell is damaged, nobody can understand it. This particular cell starts damaging other cells, and when so many cells are damaged to the extent of 1 lakh cells, it results in a tumor, and that tumor is visible to the doctors. It means this microscopic nature of a human cell itself is a cause or a hindrance to detect the disease. Efficiency is completely maintained. And what I was telling you, the same thing. Human body works so efficiently that protein, lipids, enzymes, they have got different structures. They are different molecules. But these molecules are prepared in our body simultaneously, without any hindrance, with 100% efficiency. If you ask your chemist friend to prepare a protein, a lipid, an enzyme, a carbohydrate, he will say, I will require 4 tables. He will have 4 different conditions. He will have 4 different pressure conditions, temperature conditions, and then he will produce lipid on one table, protein on another table, enzyme on another table, because he cannot produce all together simultaneously in one flask. This is the limitation for us, but there is no limitation for the human body, because the working of human body itself is microscopic working. The laws of thermodynamics are valid to human body, but they are completely modified. And in this particular modification, it keeps the body fit. So what we want to understand is a good synthesis of microscopic and microscopic things. The good synthesis of living and non-living things. In the third lecture, we have seen that ecosystem is one which is working together, system and surroundings. And we have mainly given examples of non-living and living things. Here, living and non-living things. A living thing is a human being. A non-living thing is air, water, or carbohydrates. They are working together very harmoniously in an ecosystem. This ecosystem is completely governed by nature. That is why the plants grow by photosynthesis. Human beings grow by microscopic cellular formation and biological phenomena. Both work very efficiently, and for that work you require rainwater, you require fertile soil, you require moisture, you require ideal conditions. What we want to say, let these ideal conditions prevail in our country. And when it prevails in our country, let our country be prosperous, and those of the students in a college or schools, when they grow up and get themselves as citizens, they must be strong and should make the country strong. Thank you very much.